Hi my pumpkins, have you been thinking of how to do your own makeup in 2025? This video is for you. Now I broke down how to do your makeup properly by yourself in this video from scratch. This look was created right here and it's a talk through video, so I give you guys all the tea. And now with no further ado, let's jump right into the video. The first thing I do is to wipe my face. I usually use this and I use a micellar water. Now why I use a micellar water is to properly cleanse my face, and because I have an oily skin, micellar water will just help with dirt, the oil and all those residue on my face that I did not or I wasn't able to properly wash while having my bath. The next thing I want to do is to allow that dry, because I won't use another product when the product I use on my face is not properly dry. So I'll use a mini fan, use something to fan myself, just make sure that my face is properly dry. Next up, I'll be using my sweat block, and I'm using this one from Zaron. This is their oil block mattifier. Now I have an oily prone skin and I always try not to skip this process to help control my oil as much as I can. If you do not have an oily skin, you can skip this process. If you have a combination skin, you can also just use this process. You can also just use this on your T-zone areas, or your nose, your forehead, literally those parts of your face you produce oil the most. Now this is not the solution for oil production. Your face will still produce oil, but it would help to reduce that oil production or help to just lock in the oil as much as it can. Another thing I would advise is, if you're oily skin, the product you use matters a lot, because you don't want to use something that a dry skin person will use. Makeup doesn't last well during the day. You have to know your skin type. That's why I've been preaching about skin type so much on this channel. You have to know your skin type. Aside your skincare products, if you are a makeup girly, you also have to know your skin type to know what product works well for you. Once that have dried properly on my skin, I'm going to be using my Divine House Smoothing Mist. I use this as my hydrating spray to just help hydrate my face as much. Now I know that I said I have an oily skin, but as much I do not want to overly tighten my face, so my face won't be looking too dry. So once I have applied my sweat block, I'm going to go on to hydrate my skin with my skin mist. Next up, I'll go on to use my moisturizer, and I'm using the Advanced Snail 92 All-in-One Cream. This is what I use for my skincare as my moisturizer, and as much I use it for my makeup sometimes, not every time. I'm using this flat brush to properly apply that on my skin. Now this flat brush just helped me to evenly spread it on my face. That's why I used something flat. Just use something flat and then apply this moisturizer all over your face, including your under eye. Now what this will help you do is to first of all help in locking moisture on your skin, and then it would also help with the application of your foundation. Have you noticed sometimes when you apply foundation and you notice that it just starts breaking, and immediately doing application is because your skin is not properly moisturized? And as much you would go on to make sure that properly dries on your face. Now with moisturizer, we all know that the consistency of moisturizer can be a bit thick and normal, so you really want to take your time and make sure that this has properly dried on your face. Up next, I'm going to be using my primer, and I'll be using two primers in this video. First a hydrating primer and then a matte primer. Now because I'm oily skin, I enjoy using two primers. This is a mattifying primer. I use it on my T-zone areas, and this I use this all over my face. Now if you are not an oily skin girl, you can use this all over your face and you're good to go, aside your under eyes. But if you are like me and have an oily skin, you want to go in with a matte primer on those areas, T-zones areas, so it will also help to protect your skin and also help make your makeup last as much as possible. Then I'm going to go on to add a lip balm on my lips just to help moisturize my lips and just literally prep my lips for a proper lip gloss. My foundation, I will be using the Aurora Best Skin, and I mixed it with two shades in shade 08 and shade 09. Now there is something little I do to my foundation to also help to keep my makeup intact or almost intact all day. I go on to use my Aqua Grip. This hydrating primer is called Aqua Grip actually, and I used some of that. I just pump like one pump or 1.5, depend on how hard you press. and I mix all of that together. Next thing I'll be doing is use my beauty blender. Aside beauty blender, you can use your brushes, or your brushes. Either use a brush or you use your beauty blender, and these are just makeup too. Now I prefer to use a beauty blender because I like the finishing of a beauty blender. It gives that flawless finish. Usually if I go on to use a brush, after using the brush all over my face, I will still go on to use a beauty blender to still pat that foundation to make sure that everything is sitting properly. So what's the need? You do not want to go on to use your dry beauty blender on your face. Go on to just take your beauty blender for wherever it is you kept it, go on to use your foundation and put on your face. No, that would not work. You'll be using more products than you usually would, and aside that, it might not also give you that proper flawless finish you want. So my advice is that you go on to use a damp beauty blender, and that means you're going to dip your beauty blender in water or just put it under a running tap. Make sure when you put your beauty blender in a running tap, you see that it will increase, it will expand, it's going to look bigger. The ones you will notice that okay, that has taken enough water, you're now going to use your hand and press out the water, making sure that you've pressed out every drop of water that you can press from this beauty blender, and then you get a proper damp beauty blender. Now my beauty blender is from Gifted Cosmetics and it's quite soft and it does the job well. So you can check them out on Instagram to place your order. So I've mixed that and I just used a flat brush. This is my concealing brush actually, to mix the foundation properly on my pan. So I'm going to dip this from here, and then I also really like, or I enjoy starting my foundation from my chin or my jaw, okay, because then I am able to detect if this matches my neck or if the shade is perfect for my skin. So instead of maybe just starting from here, or I prefer using my jaw because then it's really easy to just compare and then see if that works, or maybe I have to like add something a bit lighter or go darker. So I think this is perfect already for me. So what I do is I just take that from my pan and then I dab it onto my face. You see, I'm not swiping, I'm not trying to be Raz. Keep dapping, and that is all you need. That is all the technique you need for your foundation application. You just take from wherever it is you place your foundation from, and then you place and you dab. So my forehead is usually the last place I apply my foundation, because then I am certain that okay, this works perfectly with my neck, and then I can just go on to apply on the rest of my face. And so my forehead is where I do the last application. Now once I take a product and I apply my forehead, that first touch of foundation on my forehead does the job already. And as much if I notice that okay, this foundation is a bit much, I'm going to switch from the area I'm using for the foundation to somewhere clean, so it does not really affect my hairline. Okay, so that would help you to not take too much product into your hairlines. Another thing is, if you want a double coverage, maybe you're done with your first application and then you notice that there's still some things I would like to properly cover, you can always go on to do a second foundation application. You can see how flawless this came out. You're looking beautiful already without just first off taking your time. Second off, don't go on using too much product. Take it to make sure you are done with that you have on your sponge first before going on to take more to apply. So this is what we have, and I think this is flawless. Next thing we're going to be doing is my blush, and I'm going to be using my Beacharm Ageless Lip Sensation Spice Up Moisturizing Stay Matte. Now if you want to do like a professional makeup artist or professional makeup, next thing is maybe contour your skin and all of that, or contour your face. But because this video is a video that I want you to that you can literally practice, watch and just do on the go. This is not like a professional makeup, but it is something that you can do and look perfectly beautiful for your outings and all of that. So if you want me to create a very advanced makeup tutorial video, let me know, I will do that. But for this video I want to keep it simple and I want to keep it very realistic, right? Something that you can do by yourself without being so professional, and it does the job perfectly for you. I just take some of that on the back of my hand, and I put that on my cheek. So your cheek is where should be red, okay? And what does blush do for you? It adds color to your face. When someone say I don't like blush, I just feel you have not properly learned how to place your blush. If you properly learn how to place your blush, you're going to absolutely love blush. That little color it adds to your face just brings out your makeup, and it's chef's kiss. And I'm still using my beauty blender. Just keep tapping that from your chin and then take that to your temple, and then I also just add a bit of that on my nose. And I do this because when I am contouring my nose, because I usually contour with powder, we're going to get to that point. When I'm contouring my nose, I don't usually bring that to the tip of my nose, so I like to just use blush for that area instead. You see, I did not go on to add extra blush. I just went on to use the rest on my beauty blender on that area. Don't be scared, don't be scared. All of this is still going to properly just melt into my skin. Don't be scared at all. Now for concealing, I usually like to use a shade that is about 3 shades lighter than my actual shade, and then a shade that is about 2 shades or 1 shade lighter than my actual shade. Now I'm going to show you how to combine this. This is a concealer, right? But what it does is that it highlights your face. Okay, so I'm going to be using this to highlight, but this is a concealer that it helps to pop out those areas that we're going to be using it on, because it's called highlighting. So when we look at you, that is the first part of your makeup we want to see, because then it's going to be brighter than the other part of your face. So I go on to use that concealer that is about 2 shades lighter, and I put that in the inner corners of my eyes first, and I also put that on my forehead a bit, and then a little of that on the bridge of my nose. The face that is about 1 or 2 shades lighter, I'm going to just use that to highlight the outer corner of my eyes, to just give me that lift on my face. Now it depends on the concealer you are using. This is a creamy concealer. They're all creamy, but this is really lightweight. So most times I apply and I allow it to sit a bit on my face, dry a bit before I conceal. There are some concealers that immediately you put on your face, you want to start blending immediately. So when you're using concealers like that, before you start applying all over your face, just apply on one part and blend. Go next and apply to the other part, blend. So just do it step by step so it does not dry, because when it dries it is more difficult to blend, and then you start having patches, or you just know that that wasn't properly placed on your skin. So know the exact concealer you're using to know how best to work for you. Usually I like to start first with any area that is not my under eye, any part at all that is not my under eye, because I like the concealer on my under eye to sit properly. Now I am still using the same tap process that I did with my foundation. Most creamy products, or literally all the creamy products, what you have to do is just tap. You're not swiping. Most makeup process honestly does not require you swiping. It requires you tapping, right? Tap. That is what it requires you to do. Because I am trying to just maintain how I place the concealer, because like I said, I want this to help lift my eyes a bit and lift my face. When I'm blending, I'm also going to maintain that same thing, so it would give me what I want. After this process, I enjoy spraying my face to just lock in all the cream products before going on to use anything powdery. Okay, so I go on to use, this is from Beauty, and I'll go on to spray that on my face to lock in the creamy product. Once that is properly dried, I'm going to go on to use my setting powder, and I'm using this one from Flawless IVY, and I'm still going to use my beauty blender. There's a lot that beauty blender will do for you. Now I'm just going to go on to make sure that there is no creasing on my under eye first. Just dip this on my beauty blender, dust that off a bit. Also go on to press that on my palm, so it will help to take off the excesses, and then I'll go on to set. What this setting powder will do is that it would help to set those creamy products, help set your highlighter, and just help it stay in place all day. When I'm done setting, the next thing is to apply powder. But what I do is before applying powder with my powder brush, I'll use my beauty blender to apply powder on my under eye first. I see it as another form of setting my concealing, but also helping me to brighten that part of my face and also helping me to highlight that part of my face. So I call it like a powder highlighting, right? Or a powder highlighter. So I go on to use a shade. I use this. So this is about 1-2 shades brighter than my actual powder shade. So I usually use that, maybe combine that with something that is not so bright, and then I use that on my under eyes. All done with that, I'm going to go on to use my powder brush, and this is from the Real Technique. I'm going to use that to use powder all over my face, and I'm just using a shade that is my actual shade. I am going to use this. This is from Ceedies Beauty line. I'm going to use this blush. I usually like to mix the both of them and just add like powder blush on my cheek. So you see how beautiful blush does to your makeup. The next thing I would like to do is to conceal my nose, and I'll go on to use my powder palette. Just use this dark shade. I don't do a lot of concealing on my nose, especially when I'm trying to do like a very basic makeup, which this is. I'll just go on to start from my brow. So the beginning of my brow is where my contouring usually starts. Okay, and I like to always start the both of them at the same time. So you start from the tip of the brow and then it goes down. Just place that and then bring that towards the tip of my nose. Next up, I'm going to be baking my face, and I'm using this high definition powder from Menow. So what I do is I just still use my beauty blender. Your beauty blender does a lot for your makeup, okay? So invest in a good beauty blender. Take some of that and also place that on my under eye. What this does is that it helps me to maintain the brightness of my under eye and also helps to catch the fall off of your eyeshadow, because we're going to be doing our eyeshadow now. So in case there are any fall off, when you're dusting off this powder, it will just dust off your face. It does not have to sit on your face. Not done with that, I'm going to be doing my brow now. First thing I do is to go on to use my spoolie to wash my brow and put it in place, or basically just set it in place. Now it is easier when you're doing your brows when it is properly shaped. Now if you have a bushy brow, it might be a bit more difficult for you. Next up, I'm going to be using my Ceedies brow gel. It just helps to put your brows in place, right? It's like you're using edge control on your hair. You just put them in place and goes where you want it to go. For my brows, I usually have 3 pencils in place. I have one black, I have one dark brown, and I have one light brown. I use the black to first outline my brows first before going on to use the brown. Now I understand that if you're not a black pencil girly, you don't like your brows looking dark, that's fine. But trust me, even when I'm done using this black pencil, my brows will not still be looking that dark. It just depends on how you draw, and that's why I advise that your pencils are always, or should be, your pencil should be properly sharp, so it's easier for you when you're drawing your brows. So what you do is you just start a bit after the beginning of your brows, and then you follow the natural shape of your brow. Once I see that that is good, I'm going to go on to use the light brown, and the pencil I'm using is from Davies. This is in the color 30. This is color 18. The black is in color 01. This is in color 18. And now I'm just going to start from the tip of the brow, and then I'll start giving like a fader shade. I will go on to then shade the rest of my brow. Now as I'm shading, I'm also trying to give it like its proper shape, right? So I'm shading and trying to give it its proper shape. Then I'm going to go on to use the darker brown to just darken the edge of my brow a bit. And basically this is everything I do for my brow. Now you can also go on to conceal your brow, but trust me, if you have a good brow like this, I do not even see the need of concealing, because to me the brow is doing okay already. But if you still want to conceal, you can just go ahead to use your concealer. Take a little bit of that. I like to use the lightest shade, and then I go on to use my foundation shade as well. take a little bit of that. This is what I use to conceal. It's a flat brush. Some people like to use angle brush because they feel it's just easier for them to have that arc right with an angle brush, but this does it for me, and I think I have been so used to this that I don't see a need of using the angle brush. So what I do is this, what the concealing do is that it helps to clean any mistake that you have made with your brow pencil. Okay, this will help clean that mistake, also help you sharpen the brow, right, the shape of the brow, and also just help highlight the brow so that it pops a bit more. If you don't like all those just leave your brows like that and go. But for the reason of this video, I'm going to do that because left for me, I am good like this. So just take the light part, and then for my brow bones, for the rest of the brow, I'm going to use my foundation shade, the exact foundation shade I use on my face, and just use that to complete the concealing. I go on to use a brush to just help me properly clean the concealer. Just help properly clean the concealer so it looks neat on the eyes. So almost done with this look. Next thing we're going to be doing is our eyeshadow, and I'm using this one from the Adventure. This is the Adventure 54 eyeshadow palette, and so I usually start my eyeshadow with a brown shade. So any of this brown shade here should do the job. So why I do a brown shade first is that brown shade is just way easier to transition into any other color you want it to transition into, right? But it depends in a few occasions. Let's say you want to really go light, like you want to use blue and the rest, right, or yellow. But we're going to be doing very basic here, and when you're doing basic, brown shade are always the easiest to transition with. For eyeshadow, honestly, I just use a brush that is not flat, a bit fluffy. I will just help my eyeshadow without doing too much because I'm not really trying to do too much. So that's what I do, and then I just use that on my brow bone. Now I can always go on to try and make that a bit subtle with my powder. Just going to use like a brown powder for my powder palette to try and make that a bit subtle. If I feel okay, maybe the brown is getting too brown or it's getting too dark, so we're still trying to do something really simple. So I think I'm just going to go on to use this shimmery shade eyeshadow. Now what you want to learn with your eyeshadow placement is that with these ones that have like a bit of shine in them, we'll call them shimmers. Okay, we'll call them glitters, shimmers, because they are shiny. Then with these ones that do not have any shine in them, we'll call them mattes, because there are no shine in them. So most times when you want to transition, you always go on to use your matte eyeshadow first because there are no shimmers in them and it just made easy for you, right? Then you cannot always go on to use your shimmer like on the lid of your eyeshadow. It's just easier for me. It just makes sense, right? So I'm going to go on to just use this shimmer and I'll put that on the lid of my eye using like a very small flat brush. This is just easier for me to pick my eyeshadow and place on the area I would love it to be. It's just way easier for me. To add to that eyeshadow, I'm going to go on to use a glitter dust. This is from Sopo and this is in the shade Lola. I'm going further. I'm going to be lining my eyes and I'm using my eyeliner from the Tehila Cosmetics. And so I'm just going to line my waterline. First off, I'm going to try and dust off that baking powder I have on my face. I'm using this fluffy brush for that because it's just easier and it helps me to dust off the product faster. To line my waterline, I use this really tiny brush. I got this one from AliExpress. It was a set, so it's just really easy for me when I'm lining my eyes because it's really small and then it's able to just go into my waterline without really irritating my eyes as much. Whew. Lining your waterline is not so easy, guys. But just take a deep breath and you'll be fine, okay? But yeah, this is it for my eyes. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to apply my mascara for my lashes. So I usually use mascara first before applying false lashes. So when I apply my false lashes, it doesn't look so false, okay? So this will just help to darken my natural God-given lashes as much. I totally forgot to do something, but I also usually do powder contour when I am doing nose powder contour. And the same dark powder I use for my nose contour, I use this angle fluffy brush. Just take some of that, and then just below my cheekbone, I try to give this contour look. Just give that illusion that the face is a bit slimmer. This is what this does. Some of that as well on my forehead. For lashes, I'm using this lash from Chee lashes, and I'm using my bond. So what I do is I just apply the bond on the band of the lash. I don't know if you guys can see this. Going on to use my lashes now. I always try to put my lashes first in the middle. So once that is stick on there, I'm now going to properly place that on the rest of my eyes. Whoosh. And so I just try to like use my finger to try and press the false lashes and my natural lash together so that it sits properly on my eyes. So doing the same thing for the second part of my eyes, and this is what we're looking like. I think this makeup is coming together so well. We are looking so good. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is my lips. I'm going to be lining my lips first using this liner from Hudabeauty. So I'm using this flat angle brush, just take it off that, and I'm going to line my lips. Now for your lips, it really depends. If you want to overline, if you want to underline, if you want to follow the natural shape of your lips, it really just depends. So for me, I really like to follow the natural shape of my lips, so this makes it easier for me because it is angle, and then it sits really well when I'm trying to, you know, go around and work on my lips. So I just follow the natural shape of my brow. Now my lips is already moisturized, so applying lip gloss is going to be, or applying lipstick is going to be easy because it's not dry, so it's not going to be cracky or anything. Once I am done lining, the next thing I'm going to do is to add my lipstick, and I'm going to be using this nude lipstick from Flawless IBY. You can even leave this thing like this so, and it looks nice, don't you think? I think my lip balm already did like a very good job for me, but I'm going to still add my lipstick actually. Just using a flat brush to try and blend the nude lips and the brown together so it doesn't look like, you know. So I'm literally just tapping where it meets, where the nude and the brown meets. I'm going to add a little gloss to that, and I'm going to be using my Zaron lip gloss in the shade Earths. Then I'm going to add gloss, and this is from the Adventure. This is their Glassing lip gloss and AD in the shade AD35. I think this works perfect already. Right now I'm going to be adding bronzer on my face, and I'm going to go on to still use my So Pro shimmer, and I'm just going to add a bit of that on my nose, the bridge of my nose, just very little, because this can be so catchy. Like any little you put can just, hey, everybody see me, I'm here. Some of that on my cheek as well, just very little. All done with that. To complete this look, I'm just going to go on to add some form of powder on my face and dust off anything that I feel isn't properly placed. Finally, I'm going to go on to spray my face again with a Chee Beauty setting spray. To lock that all in, I'm going to be using my So Pro Ceedies. And finally, yeah, we're almost done. I'm going to use my Zaron mascara, and I'll just add some mascara on my lower lashes. And voila, we're done. Alright, let me just properly place my hair, and I'll be right back.